The Edmonton Oilers have placed Jack Campbell on waivers, intending to assign him to the minors. It's been a tough 2 seasons for Campbell in oil country. 353 goals against, 886 save percentage across 41 games. Second season of a 5-year, $25 million deal. And it's, as you know, been a disastrous start to the season for Edmonton. They have dropped 9 of their first 11 games. As we welcome in for more reaction, Edmonton Bureau Chief Ryan Rishaug, who has paused his game of Settlers of Catan to talk to us about these important issues. I mean, Ryan, this is a tough time in oil country. Jack Campbell takes the fall at this point for the Oil struggles. How do you feel this could potentially help get them out of this funk?
Yeah. By the way, I was winning the game, and I was about to convert a city or settlement into a city, and that would have put me over the edge. So I'm a little annoyed, but let's talk a little bit Oilers here. I mean, I can't believe we're here, Jay. Like, how did it end up here? I mean, Jack Campbell just signed this deal last year. He was supposed to be the answer in net. Now he's on his way to the American Hockey League. It's pretty mind-boggling. But that's the way it's gone for him. We saw how much of a struggle it was last year. This year he had a great training camp, looked great in exhibition, and then the wheels have come tumbling off again. Not just him, though. Stuart Skinner has not been much better. The goaltending has been a real struggle here in Edmonton, but there are many deeper issues, and we'll get into some of those. But bottom line, they needed to shake things up, change something. You know, this team is far too fragile to be playing in front of goaltenders that they don't feel confident in front of, and I think it's just got to that point with Campbell. So they could bring up a guy like Calvin Pickard, who's got some NHL experience, decent numbers in the minors right now. I don't know how long he'll be down for. I don't know if it's the last that we've seen of him as an Oiler. I'm not sure. It just depends on how everybody plays in his place. So long-term, short-term, I don't know, but Ken Holland felt he needed to do something.
And, you know, you told us in the offseason they were training together, they were playing together, they were doing all this work in the offseason. It seemed like this is going to be a great season for both of them. It just hasn't turned out that way. But as you pointed out, Ryan, goaltending far from the only issue. You said we were going to get into it. Let's get into it. Who else is to blame here for this start?
Yeah, I mean, let's just run right through the organization, right? Because that's just the way it goes when the results are what they are. You can start at the top with Ken Holland, right? He's the one that signed Campbell to that deal. It has not worked out. That lays at his feet. He's got a team rammed right up against the salary cap that has no mobility. Had to start the season short players on their roster. So when you do that, now you make it hard for a coach to hold players accountable because everybody knows they're going to be in the lineup every night. So there's that as well. Definitely this lays at his feet. Jay Woodcroft. I mean, Jay Woodcroft wanted to improve this team defensively, Jay, so they brought in some new systems this year, and none of it's worked. I mean, they're worse defensively by a wide margin. They're now one of the worst defensive teams in the NHL across a bunch of different metrics that you can use to try and judge that. So that lays at his feet. And I think accountability is an issue too. He's talked every single day since the start of the season about too many individual mistakes being made. Well, it's his job as head coach to figure out how to motivate players, right? Sit some guys down. Have some guys miss some shifts. Bench some guys here or there. Figure out the buttons to push as head coach so that you're not talking every day about mistakes you can't figure out how to stop. That's on him. And then the players, right? I mean, really, it lies with them first and foremost. Connor McDavid, we're not sure if he's healthy. He says he is. Don't know if I believe him. But he's been a shadow of himself offensively, right? 27th in the league in points per game. Leon Draisaitl, same thing. And as long as these two continue to struggle in this way, Jay, it's going to be really hard for this team to dig out. And then on all the other players, it's about personal accountability. Far too many big mistakes being made by guys that know how to play this game. That's the crazy thing, man. This was one of the best teams in the league from the trade deadline in last year. And most of these players were on that team and part of that.
And this is a team that, as we've said over and over, much of our panel picked to win the Stanley Cup this year. And they're off to a start where they've won 2 wins in their first 11 games. You talked about who's accountable. Now I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, how do you fix this, Ryan? Can you even make a trade the way they're up against the cap? Do you make a coaching change at this point? You've signed Woodcroft to an extension. Where do you go with this now?
Yeah, so again, I guess all 3 layers, right? So for Ken Holland, what can he do? Well, he's got a coaching change as a potential option if he wants to do that. I think we all know there's been far too much of that here in Edmonton, but I'll be honest with you, Jay, if this doesn't turn around, he may not have any choice because there are some other people in this organization that may not have the same patience that he does, right? You've got Daryl Cates is known to be a pretty anxious owner at times, and you got Paul Coffey at his right hand, Jeff Jackson now, and Ken Holland in the last year of his deal. So this might not just be about Ken Holland's sense on what the right moves are. He's got other people that he answers to, and that's normal in organizations. So coaching change, potentially if this doesn't turn around, find a trade, try and add a new voice in the locker room somehow with this tight a cap. That's tough, but he's got to be working the phones to try and figure that out, find a goalie. It just feels unlikely because of the salary cap. And for Woodcroft, I mean, I outlined it. Like Evan Bouchard the other night, Jay made one of the worst mistakes of the season.
Yeah.
Right? In a one-goal hockey game, it was a terribly advised pinch, and then he stopped skating on the back check, and his guy scored. That was the 4-2 goal. It was a dagger. You know how many shifts he missed? 0. Right back out there.
Yeah.
And this is a mistake he's made over and over and over again. I don't think Jay Woodcroft has done a good enough job of figuring out how to demand accountability from his players through doling out ice time and bench a guy for a couple shifts. Everybody will know what's going on. It raises the level of accountability, but he hasn't pushed many of those buttons this year. And as a result, Jay, we got a team where the individual mistakes are happening every single game, and they're talking about it every single game. So on a few different levels, there's room for improvement here.
Ryan, you might not have looked at a San Jose Sharks Edmonton Oilers game on a Thursday as the most hotly anticipated game of the season, but suddenly this seems like
crazy.
it's like going to be more. I saw a tweet. Someone said it's going to have more viewers than the Stanley Cup Final did. I mean, this is going to be very. If they don't win this game, Ryan, it's going to be biblical, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you try not to be the guy that's ringing the bell the loudest, right? I try really hard not to do that. And anytime we end up in a territory where we're talking about a coach potentially being let go, like you have to take that serious. We're talking about people's jobs, right? So It's not a bell that we ring unless it's absolutely necessary. But let's be honest. With their record right now, 2 wins in their first 11 games, 3 straight losses to the Vancouver Canucks, over 4 goals against, one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And then you walk in against a team that gave up 20 goals over 2 games. And if you lose that game, I mean, I don't know how you don't make a change at the coaching position if that's the case. So that feels obvious. The Oilers should be able to beat San Jose, but we'll see. If they don't, then yeah, man, all bets are off. They kind of feel like they're already off, but they'll be even more off if that's a thing.
Buddy, you were amazing. Listen, put it out of your mind for now and go back and concentrate on turning settlements into cities or whatever happens in Settlers of Catan. I've never played it.
I'm good. Yeah, man. Win, lose, draw, whatever. I still get to play Catan and have fun with friends.
Sounds good. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Here we go. The current odds for the Edmonton Oilers, according to our friends at FanDuel, and you can see the optimism that not only our panel had before the season, but FanDuel did as well. That has dwindled significantly as far as the odds are concerned, as the Oilers have struggled through this start to the season.